Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey.
Thank you for joining us again this week. We have another great show in store. Today, we are here with Melissa Harvey, chapter leader for the Atlanta chapter of It's My Heart, and we are going to discuss where to find resources and support for those affected by congenital heart defects. So, Melissa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and talk to the folks about how you got involved with It's My Heart?
Sure. As you said, I'm the chapter leader for It's My Heart, and we're a nonprofit organization created to provide support to and advocate for those affected by acquired and congenital heart defects. Through awareness, resources, and education, It's My Heart creates alliances and networks among families, groups, hospitals, and in the community. What brought me to be the chapter leader at It's My Heart is my daughter was born with 3 congenital heart defects. She's had 1 open heart surgery, and it's just made me more passionate about bringing awareness to the community. And so with It's My Heart, it's allowed me to do that. We meet once a month and provide support for one another and share our stories.
Wonderful. Well, I'm interested in hearing more about your story, and I'm sure so the folks are as well. But first, let's talk about It's My Heart. Where is It's My Heart located? Is this a national organization or local organization?
It is a national organization. It's based out of Houston, Texas. They have several chapters across the United States, and Atlanta is one of their newest chapters.
And for those of you listening, we're also in Phoenix, Arizona, and we air in the New Orleans area and Gulf South. Do you have offices in Arizona, Mississippi, Florida?
Not that I'm aware of at this time, no.
Okay. So we'll get information out to the folks throughout the country because they can contact other chapters for information.
You can. The website, www.itsmyheart.org. You can look up the chapters there and get more information more local to your area there.
So you talked about the fact that your daughter had a congenital heart defect when she was born. Do you find that most of the folks that are involved with It's My Heart or calling for resources for It's My Heart are in the same kind of situation as you, parents who've learned that their children have a congenital heart defect and are faced with making very big decisions?
They are. Most of them do have children that are infants. Some, like my daughter, was born with the congenital heart defect. Some are acquired as they get older. But most of the people that I have been in contact with through It's My Heart do have children that have been affected from birth. And we get together and we're able to discuss that with one another and offer support for anything that they're going through.
So let's talk about your story, because I think that it can help a lot of the listeners out there today. You had this wonderful baby. Did you know that she had a defect in her heart prior to her birth?
We did not know.
And how soon was that diagnosed?
It was about 2 days after her birth. We didn't know anything about it. I was trying to nurse Olivia. A nurse happened to come into the room and noticed that something wasn't quite right. And she said, "I'm just going to take Olivia to the nursery, check her vitals. I'll bring her right back, I promise." Well, she never came back. They took her directly down to the NICU unit. That's when we found out she had 2 heart defects. We didn't know about all of them.
So can you walk us through what that was like and what happened in the next 24, 48 hours after that?
Sure. I had a scheduled C-section, and so, of course, we didn't know anything about it. The nurse happened to notice that something wasn't right and took her down to the NICU, and that's when we learned what CHD, or congenital heart defects, is. It was a pretty scary time, not knowing what was going to happen, if she was going to have surgery right away. So it was pretty scary, but thankfully we had family and friends there for support. And when we did get to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, they offered a great support system that got us involved. And I was happy to have that. And that's why I'm doing this with It's My Heart, to offer that to those so they don't have to go through it alone as well.
And did she have to have surgery right away?
She had surgery at 6 months old.
Okay, so you could wait a few months. Well, that must have been scary.
It was, because we didn't know, like I said, we didn't know if she was going to have it right away. She was at 6 months old when she had to have her first surgery, and it's lifelong. She will be having another surgery actually coming up in May to fix some other things that are going on. So it is a scary process even after you go through that initial surgery.
I just can't even imagine. And so it's so important to have nonprofit organizations like It's My Heart, because I'm sure as I'm listening to your story, what goes through my mind is, I want to get it fixed. Just do it. Just do it now. I don't want to bring this baby home who's sick and then have this in my hands, but they probably educated you that it's better to wait and make her stronger, or And so you had to reach out, I imagine, to other families.
I did, yeah. We were lucky enough to meet several families, and those have become my lifelong friends, some of my best friends that I have now, that we met while we were in the hospital. And you stay connected because you have that bond that you don't share with other families or other parents or friends that don't have kids that have chronic illness. And so...
What was the most difficult thing? Was there a decision that you had to make, whether to postpone it or do it now, or
no, actually,
how to live with it? Or
it was a pretty quick process. We didn't have really much time to really even think about what we were going through, which now I'm kind of grateful for that. It just happened, and you just kind of had to deal with it and go through it. It's a little bit harder this time with her being 9, coming up in May. She's a little bit more aware about what's going on and a little bit more scary versus being just an infant and just facing it.
So the ongoing support that you're getting, I imagine, is talking to other families about how to prepare your 9-year-old child for the procedure that is to come up.
Right.
So let's be a little bit more specific and give more details, because I'm sure there's folks listening to us right now who can benefit from what you know by being a part of It's My Heart and having this local chapter and having this support and resources. What have you learned that we can share with the families out there now who might be going through the same thing?
To me, it's an integral part of being a part of a group, like I said before, that you share that bond and you're able to talk about things that other parents don't really know about, such as an echocardiogram. A lot of people might not know what that is. And to us CHD families, we know that that's a part of our everyday life. An echocardiogram, having a checkup. Well, to most people, it's just a checkup. To us, it's not just a checkup. It's a big day trying to find out if things have changed with their heart and if you're going to need more intervention at some point in time. So just being able to speak to other families who know what you're going through, you don't have to explain every minute detail, has been just a big part of our lives, being able to share that with others. And for
just
others,
peace of mind for you, too,
right,
to know you have someone to talk to.
Right, and they understand.
Support when you're having a rough day, right?
Absolutely, yes.
But let's talk more specifically about what you've learned about how to talk to your 9-year-old about this upcoming procedure. I really want to share the information that you have and what your experiences have been to prepare her so that other folks out there that maybe don't have this chapter in their communities can learn from you specifically.
Right.
How are you preparing Olivia for what is to come now that she's aware?
We have been open with her. She just recently learned that she is going to have surgery, and so she's asking a lot of questions. Well, what does that mean? What are they going to do? So we've had to share with her and just be honest with her about what's going to happen. I think has been the best thing, because 9-year-olds do know a lot. Even when you don't think that they really know what you're talking about, they do know deep down what you're speaking about. So just being honest with her and sharing with her that she's going to have surgery to repair her heart, and it's going to make her better so that she can run and play and be just like her friends at school and not have to sit down and take a break and rest. So that's the biggest part for her, just to be able to be open
show
with
the
her.
Benefits of why she's going in to have that surgery, but also walk her through, when you come in, this is what they're going to do. And I imagine they let the children come in first and kind of take a tour or see and walk them through what will occur.
They actually have what they call a child life specialist at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and they can come and speak with them and tell them about specifics about what they're going to go through in a child-like way, so to speak.
So you had this experience with Olivia, and you brought Olivia home. You went through the surgery at 6 months, and you decided you wanted to become a part of this organization. What is your role with the organization now, and what kind of qualifications do you need or do you have?
Well, I am the chapter leader. I just help organize monthly meetings. We meet once a month in different locations. We try to meet sometimes in downtown Atlanta so that families from all over can come and join us.
And when the folks come, do you have different themes for every meeting once a month, or how do you develop what your agenda is?
We do try to have guest speakers based on different things. Right now I'm working on pulse ox advocacy with state legislatures, and so that's been a big part of It's My Heart as well for advocacy.
And what you're doing is you're trying to push the legislators to require pulse ox screenings in newborns and all newborns in the state of Georgia.
Yes.
Well, good for you. That's wonderful. I have the privilege of meeting folks like yourself through this radio show. And it always touches me that people who have difficulties or are thrown challenges and go through experiences, how much they give back to the community through that experience and how that works to better an entire community because a really strong soul was faced with a challenge.
Right.
And so I applaud you for your work and the bill
you.
and trying to push through pulse ox screening, because I'll tell you, as a mother who's had children, every single thing that could happen to your child goes through your mind before you go in to give birth.
Absolutely.
And although I was lucky enough that I wasn't given any bad news like that, I can't even imagine what happens to be given news like that. So thank you for
Right.
advocating. On behalf of everybody listening, thank you for advocating for
thank
everybody
you.
else. Now, early on, when I first introduced you, you mentioned that you're talking about CHD for babies who are born with congenital heart defect or acquired. Can you tell us a little bit more about signs, symptoms, what to look for if a child is acquiring a congenital heart defect?
Absolutely. You could be short of breath. You can be winded. The child can show signs of when they're outside playing, they're just not playing as well as some of the other kids. Turning blue in your fingertips or
Lord.
your lips can be a sure sign that something's not right. Chest pains can be a sign that something's not going on.
And
right
you know,
there.
this is so scary as a mother of two sons who've gone through football. Folks are putting kids in football at 5 years old. I waited till my children were 10, but they get winded.
They do.
They
yes.
say they have chest pains. They don't want to run 2 miles around the track. So
Right.
when do you know this is something I really need to look at versus this is just a child who's not in good shape and the coaches need to whip them in shape?
Well, obviously, I'm not a doctor,
Right,
so I can't
right.
say, if it's just a one-time episode, if you're going to be okay. But usually if it's something that they continue to complain about, or if you just feel like something's not right, usually you need to go and have it checked out.
Okay, wonderful. Are there a lot of folks that actually acquire? Do you have any statistics to talk about regarding acquired congenital? And the reason why I'm talking about acquired is because, almost when you have a diagnosis, you go in, you research, you talk to folks, you get involved in chapters, you get resources, you try to find a support group. But on an acquired congenital heart defect, it might be new and you don't really know what you're doing. You're just heading on the path now. And so how often is this occurring?
I can honestly say I don't think I have met anyone that has had an acquired heart defect.
Okay.
Most that I have met and spoke with have been born with a congenital heart defect. So,
Or maybe just undiagnosed, undetected for a long time.
yes, undetected, yes, I can absolutely agree with having undetected CHD. I have met several families that they have lost their children because they didn't know that they had the CHD, congenital heart defect.
And
which
then
is
looking
heartbreaking.
back, they had symptoms that
did have
went, See, I
symptoms.
fear that. So again, don't take it lightly when your child says, my chest hurts. Have them checked out.
Right.
It can't hurt.
On the other side of that, when it's a baby, I have met a family that recently lost their 3-month-old because they had no clue that they had congenital heart defect, which brings me back to why the pulse ox testing is so important before the babies leave the hospital. It can help detect a lot of those before they leave the hospital, which is why we're pushing for that so hard.
Absolutely. Now, is that in place in other states?
It is. Right now
Okay.
it's in Maryland and Indiana and New Jersey, I believe. They do have that in place. And some states do have pilot studies in place. So they are using it. I know here in Georgia, they are using it in some hospitals. It's just not mandated. They have just taken it upon themselves to do the test on their own.
If they screen with pulse ox, they catch most or all of the
They don't
children?
catch all, and it's not 100%.
Okay.
But what happens is the pulse ox can detect a low pulse oxygen level in the baby, and it can just alert them that they need to look a little bit further into why they have a low oxygen level. Sometimes it can be a lung issue, and other times it can be a heart defect.
So if someone is listening and they're in another state, there's only 3 states, as you just mentioned, that have this, and they want to get active and fight this fight with you on their local level, should they get in touch with you?
There is actually a website that can offer them more information, www.pulseoxadvocacy.com, which offers a lot of information about that. But absolutely get in touch with your local legislatures and let them know that you're interested in pursuing that.
Okay, if they wanted to pursue that and maybe just have you help them get started, is there a phone number they can reach you at? Or you really recommend that they go to a local level?
They can go to a local level, or like I said, they can reach out to that website, and there is contact information there that they're more than welcome to use that.
Okay, wonderful. So let's talk about your services. If someone does want to reach out to It's My Heart in the Atlanta area, when is your next meeting coming up? Do they reach out to you or?
Actually, we post all of that on our website, and you can just look for the Atlanta chapter, and we have a calendar there that has the dates listed for when we meet. And we meet once a month. It's usually like the second Sunday of every month. We do offer monthly webinars that those who want more information about who might be new to CHD, it's very beneficial for them to do that. We also offer family matching services.
I wondered, I was just going to ask you that. Do you have like a mentor type program?
We do. I mean, you can actually put in what your child has been diagnosed with and what CHD, and they try to match you with a family with similar issues so that you can talk to one another and kind of connect on that level for support.
I'm looking at some of the statistics that you provided for us, and you say that most don't know, and I certainly didn't, that 1 in 100 babies are born with CHD, and that CHD is the number one birth defect. Twice as many children die from CHD than all childhood cancers combined.
That's correct.
That's crazy.
Most people don't know that.
And we don't have a screening in place in all but 3 states.
Right.
Well, again, good for you for being an advocate in the community. And it's just a simple pulse ox, which they have in the hospitals anyway.
Most hospitals have it in place, and most people have probably had it done on themselves as an adult. It just places on the finger, and it takes less than 3 minutes, 5 minutes to get a reading.
So talk to me about your company specifically and what the differences in your services are compared to some other companies that might be out there. Because I know that you're national and you talk about acquired and also children born with it. Is that typical of other companies as well? Or?
To be honest, I'm not sure if most other nonprofits that deal with congenital heart defects do the acquired. I would imagine they do.
Okay, and I see here that you're having a awareness walk.
We are trying to plan our first awareness walk this year, yes.
Wonderful. In Georgia.
In Georgia, yes.
It's My Heart has walks
nationally, and they actually just had a big walk in Texas this past weekend. Hopefully we're going to have our first one this year and have a lot of people involved and spread more awareness in the Atlanta area.
Okay, and how can others get involved?
Obviously, they can contact my email or go to It's My Heart's website, look up the different chapters there, or here in Atlanta, you can look up our Atlanta chapter. We'd be more than happy to have you join us and be on board with us here in Atlanta.
Okay, and again, for those folks that are just now listening in, this is Jeannie Pete with Better Living, and we're talking today with Melissa Harvey, who is the chapter leader for the Atlanta chapter of It's My Heart. And today we're talking about where you can find resources and support for those affected by congenital heart defects, whether it's a child that's born with CHD or acquired. But as we were talking, it's really not so much acquired, it's a child that's gone undetected, and
yes.
Then you have found out. So we've discussed that there is support out there for folks that are facing this challenge right now, and there's local chapters nationally throughout the country, and you can access information by going to the website at www.itsmyheart.org. We have a local chapter here in Atlanta.
Yes.
And Melissa is very involved in that and also pushing forth legislation for mandatory screening of newborn infants regarding pulse ox screenings, which can help detect congenital heart defects in newborn infants so that we don't have to lose any child unnecessarily by a very easy test that's already, the equipment is already available in the hospitals.
That's right. Very simple.
Do you have statistics on the result of the lack of screening? Like, how many children do we lose?
I do know that in the state of Georgia, we lose about 350 kids a year, or babies, just in the state of Georgia alone. And so hopefully this pulse ox test will help save those that we're losing every year. So it's a pretty big number for
That's
for
a lot,
one state.
and 350 children can, we save those children, and the impact they can have on society as they grow up is huge. So good luck in your fight, and I hope that others that are listening here in other markets will also help fight this fight and make it mandatory in other states as well. We talked a little bit about the parent matching program where when someone contacts you and lets you know what's going on, you match them with a family that has gone through the same kind of similar experience as them so that they can get the most support possible. But I'm also looking here that you give them a comfort bag. You want to talk about what that is?
We do. We've actually are looking at doing this here in Atlanta, involved with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta at Eggleston, which is where the cardiac program is located. We do what we call a care package, where we include toiletries, shampoo, toothpaste, toothbrushes, that sort of thing in a bag. I know when Olivia was in the hospital, we did not contemplate being there that long or even there overnight. We went in for a heart cath and she ended up staying for surgery. So we didn't have any of this stuff with us. And so we got a care package while we were there, and it was one of the biggest things for us to get. Just to have toothpaste and a toothbrush to brush our teeth was wonderful. So we're trying to do that, to give back, because that is a big need. And so these care packages will offer that to families who might need it while they're there in the hospital.
And what kind of books do you recommend? I'm sure you've read a lot throughout your journey. Are there certain books or resources that you would recommend that these folks tap into? Or just go to the website and it's all
there is a lot of
there.
information there on the website that can list books for adults to read, children that might be having upcoming surgery like my daughter. I know that we have gotten a couple books for her to help her through the process, and as well as siblings who might not understand their brother or sister having a surgery. It helps them to kind of understand that process a little bit more too.
Absolutely. All right, well, we invite questions at info@homesteadhospice.net, or you can log into www.homesteadhospice.com and send information to us regarding what questions that you might have for us. And again, Better Living is here to connect you to resources like Melissa. And so if you have any questions about this show or any past show, you can log on to our website and get connected with any one of our past guests or listen to any one of our past radio shows. Melissa, thank you so much for coming and joining us today. Important information to get out to our communities.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Jeannie Pete. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey.
And so let me introduce you to this week's guest. Daria Lipscomb, who is the Communications Director for the Metro Atlanta American Heart Association, is with us today. And Kimberly Goodlow, a survivor of several heart surgeries who works with a company called Mended Hearts. Daria, Kimberly, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you.
I think we'll start with you, Daria. Let's talk about the Metro Atlanta American Heart Association, because I know that right now we're in National Heart Month.
Yes, and we are so happy to have the opportunity to really get Atlanta and the nation really to focus on their heart health and cardiovascular health. And so that's what February is all about. It's about trying to make sure that people are doing the small things that they need to do to make sure that they're taking care of their hearts.
And how did you get involved with the American Heart Association in Metro Atlanta?
I started with the Heart Association about probably 3.5 years ago, and have been in the nonprofit sector for a while, but was very drawn to the mere statistic that it's the national #1 killer of Americans. So I have worked very diligently with the Heart Association to try to spread awareness and education throughout Metro Atlanta.
That was my next question. What is the role of the communications director? So you spread awareness and education throughout
Exactly
Metro
that.
Atlanta about heart health.
Yes.
And we are in the Atlanta area. This radio show reaches out to folks in Atlanta, but we also have a show in Phoenix, Arizona. So we're airing out in Phoenix as well.
That's great.
So although we're talking with you today from the Metro Atlanta American Heart Association office, what you have to say and the information that we will be providing on today's show is pertinent to people all over the country.
Absolutely.
So all they have to do is get in touch with their local American Heart Association.
Absolutely. We have offices all over the nation.
Okay, great. So I'm reading here, what is Go Red for Women, and why should we care about that?
Well, Go Red for Women is our national campaign that's focused on trying to make sure that women know that 1 in 3 women die of heart disease. Usually we think about heart disease as a man's disease, when actually women are dying at a very increased rate with this disease. So we're trying to focus on women actually doing the things they need to do in their daily lives.
Is it more prevalent in women, or it's a growing prevalence in women?
It's very prevalent in women, and it's growing and increasing every day. So we are trying to make sure that women are taking care of their hearts. They tend to not focus on the things that they need to focus on in their daily lives that would, cause them to basically take care of their hearts. So the physical activity, eating a nutritious diet, and making sure that they are decreasing stress in their lives. These kinds of things are the things that we're talking to women about to make sure that they know that they are at risk. And it's not just a man's disease. It can happen to you when you're young. These are the things that we're trying to make sure that women know.
And are you seeing a growing prevalence in this? Because, nowadays, I'm sorry, but we women, we have it tough. We're all working full-time almost now, and taking care of the household, and taking care of the children, and who the heck has time to exercise anymore? I'm struggling. I'm thinking I got to get up at 5 in the morning just to fit it in, so I'm back in time to wake the children up and get them on the bus.
Exactly.
And so do you think that that's one of the reasons? Because we're just leading such busy lives these days.
I think it's definitely a factor. So what we're trying to tell women is that you can fit physical activity in any time during the day. We're asking women to walk during lunchtime. We're asking women to just do 20 minutes in the morning and then do 20 minutes in the afternoon. As long as you're getting your heart pumping, you're doing something for your heart and you're decreasing your risk factor.
Even, I have a friend who's on me all the time, and they said even so much as parking in the furthest parking spot when you're going to lunch.
Exactly.
And just walking that little bit further of a distance can make a difference.
Yeah, we're in companies every day trying to make sure they have the environment in which women and men can fit in the physical activity and the diet that they need during the day, because we know we spend most of our time at work kind of sitting at a desk. So instead of sending an email to your colleague, why not get up and walk to their office or go up the floor,
figure.
up
Who
the
does
staircase,
that anymore?
Don't use the elevator, that kind of thing. So you can get your physical activity in moments and spurts throughout the day.
Yeah, see, and I think the pressure to do so much in such a short amount of time, even in the work world, is hurting all our health, and that's got to lower productivity as a whole.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are there certain demographics regarding heart disease that we want to let our listeners know about? Are certain cultures more prevalent with heart disease?
Absolutely. African American and Hispanic populations are at a very increased risk for heart disease, and that is based on the fact that other risk factors are prevalent within the community. So diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, these are the things that will really affect your heart health, and they are increasing within those populations.
I know, because I've done shows in the past on diabetes, and it is so prevalent in the African American community. So there is a link between diabetes and heart disease. So
Absolutely.
If you are a diabetic, you have to take even more care of your physical activity and nutritional intake to make sure that it doesn't develop into a heart disease, correct?
Absolutely. And so when we're asking people to pay attention to their heart health, we're saying to them, go to your doctor and find out whether or not you are diabetic. Make sure that you understand whether or not you have high blood pressure or you have high cholesterol, because these are the things that you need to manage to take care of your overall heart health.
Now, I'm not a nurse. You're not a nurse either.
No, not at all.
But I have to tell you, as a 40-something, more and more friends are ending up in the hospital with anxiety attacks or getting checked for high blood pressure and heart disease, and it seems like it's much harder to pinpoint in women. Is that true? It seems like they might have the symptoms, but the tests don't come back showing anything. And I've heard that before with with a man who might be at risk for a heart attack, I've seen some of the commercials, it shows the cells building up and blocking. But with women, it might line the arteries in a more narrow way, so there's still flow, but that's still very dangerous for women. Am I making any sense here at all?
You are, and I am not. I'm not a medical expert, so I wouldn't be able to really speak to that in a very real way. But we are seeing that women tend to present differently than men when they're having heart attacks. So whereas you think about severe chest pain and people clutching their chest, and it's an obvious heart attack, women sometimes feel pain in their neck or jaw, and it's just a dull pain, and they can walk around with it, and it's not bothering them that much. They're kind of thinking, wondering what's going on. But really, it's something that's presenting that has to do with having an actual heart attack.
So we really have to take note of our bodies.
Correct.
Even more closely, because we're not getting those crisis signs, and we can prevent a crisis if we are really paying attention. So jaw pain, I didn't know that. Now, what about back pain?
Absolutely.
See, and it's so hard because we women will take some Motrin or take some Tylenol and say we pulled a muscle.
Exactly. So it's really about paying attention to your body, and if something is there that you did not feel before, going to the doctor and making sure that you're getting screened for heart disease or any other situation that might be happening with you.
I have so many more questions, but I don't want to talk so much that we don't have a chance to listen to the incredible story that Kimberly, you have. You are a survivor of several heart surgeries?
Yes, I am.
Why don't you tell us your story?
I was born with an abnormal heart valve. One day I developed shortness of breath at work, and I went to the doctor. Ultrasound was scheduled, and it was determined that my heart valve was not doing well at all. A catheterization was ordered, and then 10 days later, I received a new heart valve. I have a mechanical heart valve in my body. 4 days later, after the first surgery, I developed heart blockage. The doctors explained to my husband that I would need a pacemaker to help my heart function. A year later, I received my third surgery. One of the pacemaker leads broke. 12 hours later, I was rushed to the hospital. So it has been a journey. I'm glad I did not ignore the warning sign. The first warning sign was the shortness of breath. So I was proactive and contacted my physician. We were aware of the heart valve, but I was never sick for 42 years. I was 42 years old when I had my first surgery. I'm now 45. So now I'm committed to spreading heart awareness throughout the community through the Go Red for Women campaign, which has made a huge difference in my recovery as well, because I'm learning more about my body and the resources that are available for me and my family as well as for the public. And that's why I'm part of the Go Red for Women campaign, to share and to basically become an advocate. And that's what I am. And I'm proud to be a member.
It's amazing how our own experiences can spread good to so many more people. So I applaud you for getting active after your experience. I do want to talk to you a little bit more about your shortness of breath, because, we can have allergies.
Yes.
We can have a cold like I have right now.
Yes.
And have a hard time breathing. How severe was your shortness of breath?
It was not severe.
It
The
was
day
not.
prior to work, the day before, I just knew I was well. And when I was coming out of a classroom, something just did not feel right. And it was just a warning sign. I never had shortness.
Were you gasping or were you?
No, I was walking down the hallway in the school, and I just grabbed my chest.
Wow.
And I never felt that way ever in my life. And I knew something. I just knew something was wrong. And I'm glad I didn't ignore it.
Yeah. So folks listening, Kimberly was 42 years old and wasn't gasping for air. It wasn't severe. She just paid attention to her body. So please, I often say I'm blessed to be able to host this show and educate and inform you all of all aspects of living a happy, healthy quality of life. And this is one of those instances. If we have one person listening to the show today that maybe whose jaw hurts or has had a little shortness of breath, thinks maybe they have a cold, don't wait. Don't wait. Go to your doctor, schedule an appointment, because as Kimberly said, it wasn't 10 days later and she was getting a new heart valve.
Correct.
Very scary, very important stuff. And I thank God that you paid attention to your body and went to your doctor. I myself do not prescribe to my own medicine, and I am learning.
Okay. It's very crucial to be aware of what's going on in your body and being educated and speaking to your physician about any changes. And as far as the transition for my new lifestyle, it was very crucial to provide a support system for my husband and my children as well.
That's another thing, yes, because it's frightening.
Yes, it's frightening. It was a very hard conversation with my children. My daughter was 7 at the time, and my son was 10 years old. It was very hard. It was a very hard talk, but it was necessary because they're part of the healing process. My church, New Mercies Christian Church, and the school counselors at Margaret Windholt Elementary also played a vital part in helping us prepare our children for what was getting ready to take place. So it's very important to provide a support for my husband and my children while I was away at the hospital. And that's why I developed a support agenda, which was very helpful for my husband.
And now you're involved in a company called Mended Hearts.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to talk a little bit about Mended Hearts?
Yes, Mended Hearts is a support group for cardiac patients and their families. 3 years ago, I joined the group, and for 2 years, I visited the heart patients at St. Joseph Hospital. Now I'm at Gwinnett Medical Center, and it's a new program at Gwinnett Medical. The purpose of Mended Hearts is to provide the emotional support for not only the patient, but the caregiver as well when they're discharged and returning home, because it's a whole new lifestyle, whole new changes going on in the home, healthy diet, exercising. So we're walking them through that process. Basically,
let's talk a little bit about that process.
Okay.
I want to educate folks about how we can help them, because like you said, sometimes the journey starts after they come home from the hospital.
Exactly. Okay, when I visit a patient, I'll walk into the room and I will introduce myself as a Mended Hearts visitor, and I will share information about Mended Hearts and why it's important to be part of the group. And we do invite the patients to join the group. But I also share my heart story. I walk them through what I experienced in the hospital, what my husband and my children experienced, and why it's important to be proactive and communicate with your family members. Let them know how you're feeling, and basically take it one day at a time. I told them it's a whole process, but you have to take it one day at a time. And so we walked through what I did at home. I couldn't drive for 30 days, just sharing what my whole journey. And that's why I'm just so glad that I'm part of the Mended Hearts organization, as well as the Go Red for Women.
And oftentimes it requires an overhaul of eating habits.
Correct.
And so part of that may be the whole family getting involved in healthy eating, and that's the best way they can support their loved one through the journey at home.
Because they're part of the healing process as well. So being part of Go Red for Women, learning more about the heart resources available, I can go out into the community and share what I learned, and it helps someone in need.
Well, I sure am glad that you're doing well.
Thank you.
And you're sharing. Daria, we've talked a lot with Kimberly about Go Red for Women. Can you talk about how Go Red for Women reaches out to our communities, and maybe are there upcoming events? What do folks need to know about Go Red for Women?
Usually we launch the campaign at the beginning of February with National Wear Red Day, and that's usually the first Friday in February. Following that, in the Atlanta market, we have a Go Red Connect event that happens in Macy's. Macy's is a national sponsor along with Merck. And we are really doing an outreach activity. We're asking women to come in and tell their stories, how they've been impacted. And that is how we find our local and national spokespeople for the cause. Along with that, tons of women throughout the city and the state are doing their own Go Red for Women events. And they do that on their own and are doing it in support of the cause. We love that they basically are individualizing the movement and thinking about ways that they can reach out to their friends and neighbors and colleagues. Along with that, we do a lot of media around, your risk factors and awareness. Anchors go red, celebrities go red. You'll see it all the way through February. We're actually talking about wearing red to support the cause.
And I'm reading your documentation on your Go Red, say that 10 times fast.
Right.
Go Red for Women fact sheet. Why should you go red? Because research shows that women who go red are more likely to make healthy choices. And we've been talking about making healthy choices throughout this entire show. More than 1/3 of the women that participate in the Go Red campaign have lost weight. Well, that right there, I'm joining. Nearly 50% have increased their exercise. 6 out of 10 have changed their diets. More than 40% have checked their cholesterol levels. And 1/3 have talked with their doctors about developing heart-healthy plans.
Correct.
Great. Let's talk about shopgored.org, because that's one way that folks can participate. I know we've already had the first Friday Wear Red, and some of the events have already passed. But people can go to shopgored.org at any time and support the cause.
Absolutely. We have tons of merchandise that is around supporting the cause. The red dress is our cause symbol, and we are selling red dresses, and we're selling T-shirts with red dresses on them. All of that money goes to funding and supporting the cause. And then you can go to goredforwomen.org and find the Shop Go Red link, and also all the resources that we have available to women.
I want to give that information out to you all, because you can go to goredforwomen.org, or you could call 1-888-MY-HEART to get more information. Right. I love this as someone who's trying to run a 5K for the first time in her life.
Great.
I'm trying to go from couch to 5K. It's slow, especially with this horrible cold. But I'm reading here, Go Red Better You, and it says explore Go Red Better You, the free 12-week online fitness and nutrition makeover that can change your life.
Absolutely. A lot of women have gone on, and it's free, it's online, 12 weeks, and we're basically walking you through the steps to make you a better you, a healthier you.
I love that. And then there's Go Red Heart Match, where if you've experienced heart disease yourself, you can go on and provide support to someone else, or receive support from someone else who's gone through similar experiences like Kimberly, and can help you even have discussions with your families. You know, if it happened to me, I would want to call you and say, tell me again. How did you talk to your 7-year-old daughter? How did you talk to your 10-year-old son? Because I can't even imagine the worry that mom's going to be going in and they're going to do an operation on her heart. Do I even tell them that? So many questions. Well, I'm so pleased to have you both on the show today, and I think this is very good information for folks out there. Again, this is Better Living, and this is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and sponsored by the Homestead Hospice and Palliative Care. And you can reach Homestead at any time to connect you to any one of our guests to get more information. And that number is 877-455-4472. Or, again, you can call and get information on goredforwomen.org by calling 1-888-MY-HEART. Daria, is there anything you want to leave the folks with today before we go? Because, again, this shows always end more quickly than I want them to. Oh, yeah. Lasting words of wisdom for our folks out there.
Just pay attention to your body and make sure that you are making the daily choices that you need to make sure that you are taking care of the most important vital organ in your body. They're not huge choices. They're small ones. Don't eat cake, eat salad. Make sure you get 20 minutes of exercise. Make sure that you are paying attention to what's going on a daily basis with your body, and making sure that as soon as you feel something that you call 911.
And take care of yourself, because your family needs you. We're good at taking care of our families and terrible at taking care of ourselves. Put yourself first so that your family can have you. Daria, real quick, there's a event coming up in September through the American Heart Association. I want to make sure people know about it.
Sure. It's our largest fundraiser in Atlanta, and that is the Atlanta Heart Walk, September 22nd, and it's going to be at Atlantic Station.
And if they want information on how to participate, do they just go to...
They go to www.atlantaheartwalk.org.
atlantaheartwalk.org. And I'm sure that there are other walks in our Phoenix market, and you can just reach out to your local American Heart Association chapter in your community to find out how you can participate in one of these walks. All right. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for joining us
today. Thank you very
today.
much. Thank you.